Aren't you? That's why I wore a jacket. Should have put my socks on. Okay, it's 6:20 PM and we've just come out of our first closed session. And we're rising from that. And the only thing to report is that staff are to proceed as directed and closed. So our next, could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, our next event is a public meeting at 7 PM. So we're going to just take a brief recess until that time. Okay. Thank you. Been
Hi,
doing
Aaron,
fine.
here and see
Doing
us.
fine. I've called Karen a couple of times, every time, we can't go to a game and your grandson's playing. So a couple times she's had some guys go and use the tickets, cause I thought, oh, well, if it's 20. I was talking to council. The light will go on and then. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody back to the meeting for tonight. We've already opened the meeting and then we went into close to talk about some um closed items, which we had to do. So now we're just coming back from our recess and it is now 7 o'clock and we are on June 17th. We have a recommendation that council convene into a public meeting at 7 o'clock. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, the first item up on the agenda is an application for zoning bylaw amendment Z06-2024. The owner Ruby Farms and the agent Mark Van Cleef for 2897 Napperton Drive. So at this time, I'll turn the microphone and the screen over to our planner, Erin Besh.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay, so here's the location map of the property in subject property this evening. So the purpose of this zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the subject lands from the general agricultural zone to a site-specific general agricultural A-17 zone to add cardboard baling as a permitted use, in addition to all other uses permitted under the A zone. The subject property itself is approximately 16.34 hectares in size and is located on the south side of Napperton Drive, east of School Road, within the former township of Adelaide. Surrounding land uses are predominantly agricultural and rural residential in nature, and the lands abut a main line of the CN rail along the southern lot line. The lands contain an existing concrete warehouse that is approximately 1,500 square meters in size and is located on the northeast corner of the property. The lands also contain approximately 2.7 hectares of solar panels, a wastewater treatment pond, stormwater management pond, and an agricultural land in crop production. Access to the site is via 2 driveways off of Napperton Drive and an informal access from the neighboring property to the east. So these solar panels were installed on forward greenhouse structures that have been partially deconstructed and which have been used for the storage of an assortment of materials. The area surrounding the greenhouse has also been used for the storage of similar materials. So the property previously contained a greenhouse operation, but more recently the applicant has been operating a cardboard recycling and waste collection depot. The warehouse structure has been equipped with an industrial baler that compresses loose cardboard into large rectangular bales. The property also contains forklifts and medium-sized equipment, which is used to move these materials around the site. The building also contains a loading dock with 2 spaces, which allow covered trailers to be loaded with the bales to be shipped off site. The applicant is requesting to add cardboard baling as a permitted use on the subject lands, which we would consider an on-farm diversified use and would be limited to the existing warehouse structure only. The applicant has advised that outdoor storage would be completely restricted. So in my report this evening, I've structured it a little bit differently than council may be accustomed to. So my policy and regulatory context section includes relevant material from the provincial policy statement, the county official plan, the Adelaide Metcalfe official plan, and of course the zoning bylaw. The policies that I have primarily provided to council this evening are in regards to on-farm diversified uses and non-agricultural uses to be located within the agricultural area. The application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. The township's fire inspector provided a number of comments, including a fire inspection order was issued to remove the combustible materials in and around the building and to cease use of the property where activities that create a hazard and that are not allowed or in the original design shall not be carried out in a building unless approved provisions are made to control the hazard. He continues on, the owner was deemed to have complied with the inspection order after 2 re-inspections and 90% or 95% of the materials have been removed. However, the electric baler does remain at the site. The Ministry of Environment is actively evaluating the property to confirm compliance with their policies and regulations. And the fire inspector advised that should council adopt the subject zoning, it is recommended the property be required to go through a site plan approval application for purposes of reviewing the site for items including, but not limited to, fire protection, fire protection water, fire protection systems, and fire alarm systems. The county engineer advised that the County of Middlesex has concerns about the proposed use being facilitated through this application. A recycling facility of this proposed scope is expected to generate significant truck traffic and would be more aligned with an industrial use rather than an agricultural use from the trip generation perspective. If zoning is approved, the county engineer recommends the site be subject to site plan control, similar to the fire inspector. The applicant would need to provide a traffic impact study to address the potential negative impacts on the county road and potential improvements to the entrance as well. The Township Public Works Manager advised of no concerns. CN Rail provided several comments in regards to the use being located in directly abutting one of their main lines. However, their comments are probably more appropriately dealt with through a site plan application rather than through a rezoning. St. Clair Region Conservation Authority advised of no concerns, and the drainage superintendent advised that the property is within the watershed of the Carruthers Drain, but more specific comments would be reserved for future applications, likely a site plan. So this meeting this evening is the statutory public meeting, which is required for all zoning bylaw amendment applications. The way in which this staff are recommending is that this be provided as a background information report. The next steps to this application would be to hear any public consultation this evening, which can help council make their decision, and we will bring this back to a subsequent meeting. So my recommendation this evening is that the subject report be received for information, and further that council directs staff to prepare a subsequent report evaluating the subject application with a recommendation for council's consideration at a future meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Erin. Just as a reminder to everyone, the purpose of the public meeting is to give the council and the general public an opportunity to hear all interested parties with respect to the application being heard this evening. The public is advised that comments expressed and written material presented are a matter of public record available for full disclosure. If a person or public body does not speak to the application at the public meeting or make a written submission to the township, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the council decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal or be added as a party to an appeal of the decision to the tribunal. If you wish to be notified of the decision in writing, please submit a written request to the clerk. There is a public meeting sign-in sheet available at the door, and I believe it's on the table over there. Council, though, you should know, will not make a decision regarding the subject application at this meeting. The application will be brought back, as Erin said, to a subsequent council meeting with a fulsome planning evaluation report and a public consultation summary. If you wish to speak to the application, please use the available microphones, as I pointed out earlier, and please begin by stating your name and your address. So we will start at this time with the applicant. So Dave, if you want to come up to the microphone and once again, push the silver button there and you've got the floor.
Might be a mistake giving me a microphone, but we'll try it. I was going to stop when she started, but I didn't want to interfere. We've since my heart attack, you might say, we've changed our mind. I don't want to apply for what you're doing here tonight, but what I'd like to do in lieu of that, as long as my neighbors and all you people are okay with it, I'd just like about 4 or 5 months to move the thing out of there. It's rather big. It weighs about 80 tons, and we got to find a place to get it. But in the meanwhile, I'd like to bale cardboard in there, but with a whole lot of different rules than what we had that we got in trouble with you in the first place. As an example, nothing will go outside the corners of the building. We'll only do cardboard. Nothing else will come on the property, wood, plastic, nothing. Nothing will be outside. Everything will be contained in the building. And I talked to the fire inspector and he seemed to be okay with the idea of doing that as long as we baled it as it came in. So there's going to be no storage of a pile of cardboard inside the building and be a fire hazard. It'll be baled as it goes in and it'll be in bale form in the building, which doesn't have much of a fire hazard once it's baled. It's when it's loose that it has a fire hazard. So we'll bale it as it comes in. We'll stay within the four corners of the building and nothing goes outside, nothing goes in the parking lot, nothing goes anywhere except in the building. And it'll be taken away as fast as it's baled with a tractor trailer load. That's how we take it away. So you put up 26 bales and it's gone. So because I think in about 4 or 5 months, we're going to be changing big time on the farm and go to agriculture because we're thinking seriously about greenhouse. It might not happen, but we're thinking about that. So that way we got time to get rid of our cardboard as we put it in because we don't want to go into landfill. I mean, that's the whole purpose of doing cardboard, although you make money doing it too. We're not doing it for free. But landfill is a big item in our business. So it would stop it from going there and give us a chance to find a new location, which that location isn't very good for anyway, because it's too far away from bringing the cardboard there. So we'd like to find some place closer to our business to put the thing, but we need a bit of time to do it. So that's all I'm going to ask council tonight is if they'll grant me, I don't know, well, I'm going to lose a month before you even make your decision. So I'd say 4 or 5 months. It'll give me time to find a place because if you find a place, as you know, you probably have to do improvements or change things. So that'll take time. And then we got to take the whole baler apart and move it to the new location. That'll all take time. It might not take that long, but it's a starting point.
Okay, I was thinking you were getting right out of it altogether. You only wanted the baler for 4 to 5 months and then you're converting that to agricultural.
Yeah. Well, we might
so
be
where is
changing, it
this-
might be changing it to Sue. We might be changing it to agriculture. That's not a
Okay.
done deal yet,
No, no.
but we're
Okay.
certainly not going to be in the cardboard business anymore.
Okay, so are you warehousing cardboard there right now? And so you would be bringing cardboard into baler?
What they do is they bring loose cardboard in, they put it in the baler and bale it. So if you do it as it comes in, if you don't do it as it comes in, you end up with a big pile of cardboard inside the building and then they go in with the loader and load it all up and bale it all. Well, you got a pile of cardboard there and if I went the other route that I was applying for, I'm sure I'd have to put in a whole bunch of stuff. I just don't know that for a fact, but I'm sure I would to meet all the codes to do because it's a big move. It's a big move for you guys and for me too. So this way, if I just have time, if you grant me the time to move the baler, we'll be out of the cardboard business and we'll be back to agriculture in some form on the property.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Council, do you have any questions for Dave Ruby? Yeah. Okay, thanks, Dave. So now it's time for you to go back to the gallery, and if anybody, any members of the public wish to speak, and once again, just as a reminder, just your name and your address if you'd like to speak. And once again, you just push the little silver button there.
I'm Kim Fedema and we're at 2983 Napperton Drive, my husband Chuck Fedema. So we had lots of questions about the process and how things were going to look, but I guess this changes everything for us now if he's no longer going to be applying for the zoning change. So I don't know if we should still be voicing our same concerns or.
Yeah, I think I'll have the clerk speak to.
Okay, sure.
Just so that because everybody, things are changing.
Sure.
Okay.
So Aaron Besh, please jump in if I make any mistakes here, but you're requesting a temporary, we've reached out about this previously, but you will have to amend your application. and we will have to circulate again under that scenario. I would think the planners in speaking with Ruby Farms, there would be likely provisions on that if council did approve, and that would be still to meet fire code, MOE approval and all those things. So we would have to amend the application and recirculate. Aaron, you can jump in on that.
Certainly. Thank you, Mike. That's certainly doable. If Dave would like to attend the township office, I'm there on Wednesdays. We can certainly go through the application and amend it for temporary use. I think, like Mike spoke to, there would still be stipulations on that, but certainly if it's a temporary use, we can put an expiry date at the end, in which the zoning of the property would then go back to just the general agriculture without the special provision added.
Okay,
So do we still then voice our concerns now about it, or do we wait until this happens?
but I'm gonna stick my neck out and say I think you should voice your concerns if you have any, because then that would impact whether council decides that this 4 to 6 month
Right.
request would even be
Okay.
entertained. So I think that that would be valuable conversation.
Okay, so my concern would be that, well, I guess like we weren't really paying attention to what the neighbor was doing, but now hearing that it was being done illegally and now asking for forgiveness and can I carry on? I'm probably not okay with that. It's been a mess for years and garbage blowing all around. So that would be one of our big concerns, is that, as time goes by, it just kind of regresses back to that. Yeah, what's the process? We wanted to know, like, how is it impacting the residential homes in the neighborhood and their water? Everyone's on a well there, so those are some of my concerns. Mud on the road. There's, a safety concern when they're pulling the trucks out, and they probably have opportunity to put lots of gravel down, but didn't do that. We farm, so we have to make sure the roads are clean when we come out. We've gone back with shovels to make sure that happens when we've gotten, mud on the road. So those kind of things, everyone has to do their part, right? So I probably have lots more concerns, but I'll let some other people talk.
Thank you. Anybody else like to step up? I think the microphone's on, so just your name and your address to start, please.
My name is Joe Van Dam, 27864 School Road. I just live west of the Ruby Farm. And they say they're an environmental company, but they're an environmental disaster. They've been trucking in and out garbage, burying with a backhoe, like a high hole. We see truckloads of pavement, concrete, plastic. They bury it along the back of the farm there. And we've been picking up garbage out of our field. It's just awful. They're terrible neighbors.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Anybody else?
My name's Jim Van Dam. I live on 27969 School Road. And I agree with my brother. I just live across. My other question is, he says 4 to 6 months, then he's gonna quit doing it. Why is he finding a new location, for his recycling? He's already lying. But anyway.
Okay. Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
My name is Derek Van Dam, and I live at 27864 School Road with my dad, Joe. I have the same concerns as my dad was saying as well. And for over the years, we've had a lot of plastic, and I have pictures of it too that I picked up and brought back over there and that and everything. and that, and they've had years back where it's been a lot of weeds too, and the weeds blow our way, and it's like, what are you doing sometimes, you know? And yeah, I've seen a lot of trucks back there dumping garbage and that and everything, and I'm worried about the contamination in the ground and that could happen and that, so that's kind of my concerns and everything and that, okay?
Okay, thank you, Derek. Anyone else?
Microphone on.
Yes, it is, yes.
My name is Paul Kingura. I live directly across from this facility at 2894 Napperton. I took the pride to move to this area after working long career. Took a Freedom 55 to come to this great community, and I put a lot of money. If you drive by that place with my trees and everything, I have a really good relationship with Miss Ruby, but I agree with everything that's been said. Even a couple of days ago, I had neighbors call me. I was in meetings in London, sending me pictures. He's saying, you know, we'll bring the cardboard right in and roll it up, whatever. I have no problem with that. But there's cardboard in Guysborough Farms. They picked up some. If you go there and look, it's still there. We can't have this happen. You know, I want them to succeed doing things correctly, because I'm all for business. But we have industrial zoning on 81 and what is Center and Second Road. There are other locations. My biggest concern is I put hundreds of thousands in upgrading my property. Well, I'm happy it's only temporarily now they're asking for to extend this use, but in the long term, how does that affect the value of my property? So I don't want it to happen in the long term. When it does come with the revised application, I think all of these people who took the time to come here should be called back in again so we can revisit what's being asked. All of these people are very fair, including myself, but I like the law and order. I applied for workshop permit. I follow all the rules and I expect somebody who's been living here all their life and their local citizens to do the same. So my biggest concern, what bothered me over these years, all these trailers parked sometimes. I don't like air conditioning. I have my windows open upstairs. These lights staring, sometime 11, 12 o'clock. Stuff flying around. You know, many times I'll call Dave and, you know, he will send somebody and clean it up, but it is an issue. So I agree with what all the other neighbors said. And I would like us to be back here again, looking at the revised application, and we can all work together to make it a fair thing.
Okay, thanks, Paul. And is there anyone else? Yeah, Mr. Fatima, come on up.
Chuck Pedma, 2983 Napperton Drive. My question or concern would be more of, they're taking recycled cardboard in, and we know we've worked all around out in there. People don't always just dump cardboard in those bins. Is it sorted before it even comes to ours? Because there'll be garbage. Who knows contaminants in there as well? So that is more of my concern, right? So we're not, maybe they do sort it somewhere else before they bring it to our neighborhood, but likely maybe not. And there could be other contaminants and paint and chemicals. I don't know, right? But that's just a concern I have.
It's a
And
good question.
so that was all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. Anyone else? Got it covered? Okay, thank you. So like we said, the next steps, there'll be a subsequent report and it'll be at another public meeting. So for tonight, could I have a motion that the subject report for the zoning bylaw amendment Z062024 just simply be received for information purposes? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All in favor? and that's carried. So, and further that council direct staff to prepare a subsequent report evaluating the said applications with a recommendation for council's consideration at a future meeting. And it will take the questions and concerns into account. Okay, we have a recommendation that council adjourn the public meeting at 7:25 PM and convene into regular session of council. Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor, and that's carried. Thank you. So if anybody wants to leave, you can. We're going to the boring part of the council meeting, but if you want to stay, you're more than welcome to stay as well. And thank you very much for coming out. I think it's important to participate in the process.
Should we still sign the?
Yes, please. Yeah, if you, yeah, just so that it doesn't get missed. Yeah.
And just to let you know, if you guys don't mind, I have been working through Paul Kangura with communications. If you don't mind, if I keep doing that as one spokesman for him to get the information back out to you.
Yep.
Process wise. Perfect. Thank
But
you.
you should still put your names down
Yes, yeah,
on the paper.
You
if
also
don't-
get notice as if the application is amended. We'll let you know either way.
That'll be in the mail.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks again for coming. Okay, we'll move along here, and under correspondence is the next item up on our agenda. Upcoming conferences, seminars, and meetings. There's not happy news for a lot of people, but on Wednesday, June the 26th, Middlesex County is going to be doing a presentation you can attend virtually or in person, and it's regarding development charges. And those would be over and above what we charge here at Adelaide Metcalfe Township. The meeting is at 1 PM in the Middlesex County Council Chambers. That's the old courthouse on Rideout Street in London, 399 Rideout. The next meeting of regular meeting of council, excuse me, is July 15th at 7 PM. And the one following that is Monday, August the 12th, and that too is at 7 PM. Recommended readings, next item, CC number 1, Middlesex London Health Unit, the Board of Health meeting summary from May 16th, 2020. CC number 2 is the Middlesex County OPP Detachment Board draft minutes. CC number 3 is Middlesex County OPP Detachment Board external correspondence, public member appointments, and I'm sure you had time to read it, but there's myself, John Brennan is the chair, I'm the vice, Michelle Smybert from Thames Center, John Brennan is from Middlesex Center, and Paul Hodgins is from Northwest Middlesex. Our two public appointments are, we're very fortunate to have retired London City Police Chief Murray Faulkner, as well as Jim Maudsley, who currently sits on the provincial OPP board and is very, very knowledgeable. So we're very fortunate to have them. CC number 4, Middlesex County highlights from May 28th. CC number 5, Blue Water Recycling Association, the Board of Directors meeting highlights from May 30th. CC number 6, Middlesex County, their assessment of Bill 185 with respect to planning changes. CC number 7, Watson and Associates, their assessment of Bill 185 as it relates to development charges. And CC number 8, the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus media release, return of Ontario West Municipal Conference. And I think it's in October. I don't have it committed to memory. I don't think there's been one for 6 years, and it's in Chatham. Under action required, we have a resolution from the City of Belleville, support of family doctors. CC number 10, a resolution, the City of Peterborough, jurisdiction of Ontario Ombudsman. CC number 11, a resolution from the Town of Blue Mountains regarding ride-sharing services. And CC number 12, a resolution from the Town of Lake of Bays, AMPS in the Building Code Act. So seeing we have no motions for support, can I have a motion to receive and file CC number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor, and that's carried. Thank you. Next up, we have 8A under staff reports. We have our Middlesex County Development Charge Study, and I believe it's Arnie Marsman is presenting, or okay, so Arnie's not available, so our CAO Morgan Calvert will take that. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Clark, and for you to the rest of council. Arnie apologizes, something popped up on him this evening, so he wasn't able to attend, so I'll try to stumble my way through this a little bit. But essentially attached is a copy of his report that outlines the potential impacts to the county implementing development charges, at least within their area of coverage, which is Lucan-Badolph, Adelaide Metcalfe, Middlesex Center, North Middlesex, I believe, as well. Arnie did want me to acknowledge that these numbers are actually smaller than what they really are, because when he was putting this report together, it was before the provincial legislation was implemented. So these numbers do generally illustrate that there's going to be an increase in development in the township through the development charges that the county's looking to implement. I would say in theory, development charges at the county level are likely a good thing for a low development community, because they're picking up the cost of development in development-based communities and then using those monies for upgrading roads or transportation systems at the county level. So in theory, by the county implementing DCs, it's a revenue source that could mitigate future levy increases on Adelaide Metcalfe by Middlesex County. Again, DCs are meant to recover the costs of development, and the county has been generally using the general tax levy to fund development in Middlesex County. Beyond that, there are a number of concerns at the bottom of Arnie's report. There's a couple ways that this can go. We do have a sitting county councillor where the mayor could provide feedback through the council process. Or we could write a letter to Middlesex County outlining some of our concerns as they relate to DCs in Adelaide Metcalfe. Most of the concerns I've heard from colleagues are generally operational in nature. How are we going to collect DCs on the county's behalf? And who's going to tell the story of why DCs are now being implemented? I do say this quite often, but we are the buffers to various levels of government decision making. So we're the ones that are really going to generally be the ones explaining. And if we can't explain it well enough, then we'd like a phone number from the county so that we can pass the phone along. So beyond that, my recommendation, Arnie's got a couple of recommendations in his report, but mine this evening, pending any council discussion on this topic, is to really just receive this report for information at this time.
Thank you, Morgan. Are there any questions for Morgan? Go ahead, Councillor Kingma.
Yeah, I basically endorse the content of this report. I think it's well done. I think the lower tiers are wondering is whether we're being prescribed a kind of unfunded mandate, so to speak, to remit these DCs back to the county. Do we have a bureaucratic process already in place that we can piggyback on so that we're not reinventing a new procedure? That's kind of the mechanics of it that I'm wondering about. I'm not an authority on that. It's like making sausage. We don't watch that. So that's one question. And I think there's going to be some pressure. Well, it's not a question, commenting, ranting. The other thing too is with the county starting up on this, is that going to apply pressure on lower tiers to make sure that their DCs stay low so that the overall envelope doesn't get too bloated?
Yeah, I don't want to get into too much of it, but like there is the meeting on the when did I tell you that was the 26th? Because it actually, the idea has been put out there at county council, but there's been no presentation yet. Like we saw these numbers the same time you did. And I think the whole idea is having growth pay for growth. And when you look at the county asset management plan, it's pretty overwhelming when you look at the roads and the bridges that have to be maintained. And Middlesex County is not any different, as I said earlier, to anybody else across Canada. Everyone's infrastructure is old. And and there are a lot of municipalities or counties actually that do collect DC charges. So it's not something that's new and not heard of. So, and I'm not saying I support it or don't support it. I haven't heard the presentation yet. So go ahead, Morgan.
Through the mayor and Johnny, maybe I'll just ask you about the process question. Do we have an existing process where we collect DCs, and then how might the county's process get involved?
Yeah, good question. So the township does have our own internal process, as we do have DCs now. But I think that process will need to be looked at because with the county potentially introducing DCs, they could have different types of exemptions and ways of handling their DC charge that might not align with ours. So there needs to be some coordination there. So our process won't necessarily apply. There'll be some changes that we need to iron out. But to your second point there, there's a number of municipalities in the province that do have a school board upper tier and a lower tier DC. So I believe probably the county could look to other municipalities to understand their processes so we don't have to reinvent the wheel and ensure this is a smooth transition if this is something that county council is interested in adopting there.
Yeah, and I may be speaking out of turn, but I think it's pretty tight rollout. Like July 19th is they're not, yeah, July 19th or 17th, whatever the date is. Like that's not even a month. Like or it is just a month. So anyway, I guess we'll find out more on the 26th about what the proposal is. So those are good takeaways. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none then, we have a recommendation that council receive the Middlesex County Development Charge Study Report and that council endorse the comments outlined in the summary of this report and this feedback be provided to Middlesex County. So go ahead, you want to make an amendment?
Yeah, I just,
Okay. And we'll add our
for
concerns.
information, and then, I didn't hear much outside of whether council wants to fully endorse some of those concerns. I've had opportunities at the local CAO level, working with the county to address some of these concerns. We could go to the public house and provide concerns there, or we can write a letter. So that was the only part I just.
Yeah, okay, so let's break this up then. Could I have a motion that council receive the Middlesex County Development Charge Study Report? Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, and is there a feeling in the room that we would possibly put forth a letter stating what some of our concerns are or questions to process and whatnot? Councillor Kingma?
My only suggestion is that we endorse the content of the letter in terms of requesting answers to the questions in the report. There's probably fewer words to say what I
Right, but
just
does
said.
that give is that a fulsome, like, is that going to give you enough substance to give everything you want? Okay. So do you want a motion to direct staff to put forth a formal letter on behalf of council? I don't think it would hurt. Okay. Okay.
Wouldn't take long.
Okay, or I can put a letter forward. I'll write a letter. Okay, the mayor be directed. I can write the letter. That's okay. Oh, I can do it. Okay, moved by Betty Ann. Seconded by Aaron. And Councillor Nordoff, all in favor? Okay, so I will do that. Okay, next up on our agenda is 8B, the topping drain tender results. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Andrew Neely and welcome via Zoom.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the interest of time, I will streamline this as much as possible. The background, we had followed the standard practices outlined in the Drainage Act with regards to the different meetings held and the tendering practices outlined in the procurement policy. 3 bids were received. The lowest bid was Banbury Drainage and Bulldozing at $272,952.20, and the start and finish date would be during the fall winter after the crops are off by the looks of it. And we had received 2 others. And with regards to the financial impact, all of the drain reconstruction costs for this project will be assessed with using the assessment schedule that is provided for this project. And it's at this point that I recommend that Banbury Drainage and Bulldozing be awarded this in the amount that has been indicated for the reconstruction of the topping drain.
Okay, are there any questions for Andrew? I have an overall question that would apply to all of the drains. So if for some reason there's a delay, do we not institute a new policy on how we notify landowners if there is a project delay? Was there a new process introduced? Please remind me if I've forgotten.
Yes, for construction projects like this, we have a pre-construction meeting. We require the contractor to call that meeting, and if they don't, then within that time frame, they will be given an indication of the project needs to be completed within an agreed upon time frame. And so there is always that pre-construction meeting to allow them to know when this is going to be done.
Okay, so sorry, just as a follow-up. So if there is a delay, that would be communicated to the affected landowners. That's what I want to make sure. Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that council approve the tender received from Van Bree Drainage and Bulldozing Limited in the amount of $272,952.20 plus HST for the reconstruction of the topping drain. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Counselor Kingma, seconded by Counselor Nordoff. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Next up is 8C, the Rapley Drain Early Bridge Replacement, and I'll turn this over to you again, Andrew, please.
Thank you. The background with regards to this project, the owner had contacted staff regarding the condition of the bridge, and he had submitted a request under Section 78 of the Drainage Act. This would allow for cost sharing and 1/3 grant for the landowner and also the other agricultural properties upstream. The condition of the bridge is poor. The head walls are in poor condition, and the overall width of the culvert is quite narrow, especially by today's standards. So at this point, I would like to recommend that council accepts the request to replace an access bridge under or on the Rapley Drain submitted by the property owner, Lot 11, Concession 5, SER, former Township of Adelaide, under Section 78 of the Drainage Act, and further that council directs staff following the Drainage Act to notify landowners affected to get a better understanding of the scope of the work. And I'm open for questions at this point.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, I won't reread that recommendation. So could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Counselor McKinnon, second by Counselor Kingma. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Andrew, thanks for your time this evening. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, next up on the agenda is 8D, the operating budget to actual up to May 2024, and I'll turn it over to our treasurer, Johnny Pereira.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Through the council, as the mayor mentioned there, it's the budget to actual report for May. Again, similar comments last month. We are still pretty early in the year. Much of our expenditures do occur over the summer months, so those will be to come. But overall, spending and revenue collection to date looks to be on pace with the approved budget. I'd be happy to answer, or sorry, the recommendation is to receive the report as presented, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, it just occurred to me, through the mayor to Johnny, are we running out of tree money?
Through the mayor to Councilor Kingma. A great question. Testing my memory here on that one. But I believe that program was to last a few more years.
Yeah, I can take
pass that off to Councilor.
I know we did set an amount to extend that program by a few years instead of going forward with, say, a couple hundred trees. That's a lot of township staff time for a long, period of time. So it's nice to break it up throughout a few years. I know that was, I believe we brought a report to council with some numbers in there as well, but I can report back as well. If you'd like.
Thank you for that. Okay, any other questions? Johnny, go ahead.
So they will dig it up quickly for you. So, so far the reserve to date is sitting around $21,000. So I believe the 2024 budget has between 6 or 7 allocated, so that'll be reduced from there. So, $6,000 there. So yeah, it will be around a few years there.
One less reserve to monitor in 3 years. So there you go. Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we have a recommendation that the operating budget to actual report for May 2024 be received for information. I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Counselor McKinnon, seconded by Counselor Kingma. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And 8E is yours as well, the 2023 investment report. So I'll turn it over to Johnny again.
Thank you, Mayor Clerk, through the council. So this report is just to comply with the annual reporting requirements under the Township's investment policy and the Municipal Act. It is used just to highlight the details of our investments, such as their performance, total returns, and provide a transparent picture of our investment activity and overall opinion on the Township's investments. The township implemented a new investment policy in late 2022. So 2023 was the first full year of this new policy. As shown in the matured investments chart in the report there, the township did have 4 investments mature, 3 of which were older GICs, which were entered into while interest rates were low prior to the township's formal investment policy. The township did have a 1-year $4 million GIC that matured at the end of 2023, earning a rate of 5.64%, which is pretty significant. In 2023, the township did earn $227,000 of investment income compared to only $153 in 2022. The township also has a very competitive interest rate on cash balances as well at Libro, which we earn the Bank of Canada prime rate less 1.5%. So as of right now, after the latest decrease, about 25 basis points there, we're still earning 5.45% as of right now. In 2023, though, the township earned $424,000 of interest income on cash balances versus $268,000 in 2022. With the investment policy, the township is positioned to earn a significant GIC interest earnings as the township has entered into a number of staggered multi-year GICs to maximize the high interest rates in late 2023. When reviewing the township's investments, the amount to lock in and invest is dependent on the township's capital forecast and timing of cash flow. Due to the future capital needs, some of the township funds are unable to be invested in longer terms, as the township will require these funds in the coming years. So overall, the investments held by the township in 2023 were consistent with the investment policy. The recommendation is to receive the report as presented. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Johnny. Are there any questions? Counselor Kingma?
Yeah, through the mayor, a comment and a question. I'm glad to see that we have we're locked in for 5 years for that landfill reserve, given that what we've recently learned about our post-closure obligations. And my question is actually concerning the building fund reserve. Wouldn't it be nice to invest some of that?
Yeah, through the mayor to Councilor Kima. Yeah, great question. So there is some investigative work needs to be done just to review those funds. It is highly restricted as it's meant for building services only. But once we had a chance to review that account in detail, it's definitely something we would look into for sure.
Yeah, we're always looking for ways to maximize the returns, that's for sure. So, okay, any other questions for Johnny? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the 2023 Treasurer's Investment Report be received for information. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we are going to move into our second closed session, and council will adjourn to the closed session at 7:54 p.m. pursuant to section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended to discuss the following matters: a personal matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and it's specifically an employment contract. So we'll now, can I have a motion to move into closed? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Counselor Nordoff. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.